really am having a moment of doing things that I've not done for a very long time. Geoff Maskell in for Connor Phillips for the next couple of days. Haven't presented on the radio for a long time. Sat an exam earlier this year for the very first time in about 30 years, and I felt like I was 16 years old again, walking into that room, the desks all set out, the pencil cases there, the timer, the invigilator. It was like winding back the clock, and with it came all of those familiar feelings of dread and anticipation and nervousness. Mental health expert, friend of Radio Ulster, Noel McDermott, is here. Noel, why does it feel, going back to doing something that you've done dozens of times, but you've had a break from, why does that feel so very, very scary?
There's the thing called cognitive dissonance. So our brain is basically designed to turn everything into a habit so we don't have to think about it. So if you imagine how you learn to boil an egg, when you boil an egg now, you don't think about it. But when we come back to previously habitual behaviours or new behaviours or new of previous places that we've been to or new ones, the brain just goes, there's something wrong here. This isn't normal. And it does that with anything where there's a change. And it's going, OK, what do I do now? What do I do now? Because the brain doesn't like change. It likes us automatically doing things without any thought.
Because there are things that when you are well used to things, you can almost switch off and skate through them. I'm on the radio or on the telly doing the weather. And there are phrases that just trip off the tongue that I can kind of go to, and they just happen naturally, and I don't really have to think about them very much. And that kind of buys the other half of my brain a bit of thinking time. Is that the way the familiar is?
It's that thing. And if you think about driving, a lot of people have this experience with driving, that you might go from A to B and not really remember the drive. You were perfectly safe while you're doing it, because you're in a sort of flow state. And then your conscious mind, the bit that you and I are using right now to talk, just doesn't need to notice anything unless there's a hazard, for example. So it notices hazards and then wakes you up from that state, as it were, to make an assessment. But otherwise, you do these things in that way. If we didn't, life would be a lot more confusing and difficult.
We'd be overwhelmed
didn't have
all
that
the
capacity.
time.
Absolutely, without a doubt.
But fear is there, and it stops people from doing things, doesn't it? One of the things I do when I'm not here at work is that I help run a choir, and we get loads of people who will sign up to give it a go. And of the list of people who sign up, so they've found us, they've seen where we are, they've taken the time to contact us and to sign up. But of those people who sign up to have a go, only about half of them actually step through the door of the rehearsal room. What is it that stops people taking that final step?
So fear, the purpose of fear is to either stop us from doing something or get out of dodge, because the bit of our brain that deals with fear, that decides if something is a snake or a stick, has decided it's a snake. OK? And that's its job. Now, we have this higher function thing, the conscious mind that you and I are using now, where we can ask ourselves, is that fear appropriate? And the thing about fear is that because it comes from inside, it feels like it must be right. And actually, it isn't very often right. And once we learn that, we can then challenge those thoughts and behaviours that might act out on the fear.
My dad, bless him, I loved him dearly, but he taught me a lesson that I have spent basically a lifetime unlearning, because it stopped me doing so many things. He always used to say that if you're going to do something in public, you have to do it really well. You know, you have to practice it until it looked really good, or it sounded really good until it saw the light of day. And I just wonder, that's held me back from.
Not at all.
Well, I'm glad you've had that reaction to it, because it's taken me kind of 50 years to work out that was probably not right. Why are we so afraid to fail publicly?
Look, the evidence is, rather than tackle it that way, let's tackle it this way. The evidence is that one of the big secrets of success is confidence. It's not capacity, it's not ability, it's not experience. It's just simply having confidence. Now, that comes from emotional safety. And it's not trying to avoid fear that's important. What's important is developing strategies to give yourself emotional safety. So if you think about a little toddler with their mum or their dad, and a stranger comes into the room, they're playing with them. They might for a while get a bit frightened and climb up on mum's lap, right? But then after a while, because they feel secure, they then go and introduce themselves to that stranger. Because they have this internal sense of security and they've checked in, and then they can go and do strange new things.
I mean, one of the things you see when you walk around the park is parents saying to their children, "Be careful, watch out, be careful." Would we be better off giving some different kind of words? You know, how are you going to get down from there? How do you feel? What's your next move? Are there ways we can help build confidence?
I think it's like parents do a great job. I'm never going to criticise any parent. There's no such thing as a good or bad parent. There's a parent who has a good day and a bad day, and that's the way it is. And we parent to our own capacity, and kids have been surviving parents for millions of years. So I think going forward, kids will survive parents, all right? So let's leave it at that. In terms of modelling, which is what you're talking about, what do you want to model to your children? The idea I would suggest to people is to become conscious of their own internal dialogues and not just act out. There will be times when, as a parent, you'll see your child do something that is clearly dangerous. You need to stop them immediately and don't worry about it. Just stop them. And if necessary, give them a good talking to as well. So if your kid's just about to run out in the road, grab hold of them and stop them. That's fine. But there may be questions you want to ask yourself as an adult, not just with your kids, but with yourself. What is the internal dialogue you're acting out on there? And do you like it? Do you want it? Because you know what? It's not written in stone. You can change it.
We can change
and you can make decisions about it. Absolutely, without a doubt.
Because we do hear about, anxiety in young people and them learning how to manage that. But do we also lose our confidence as we get a bit older?
So I think something like that does happen. We get a few knocks. Now, the secret to surviving knocks and coming back and maintaining confidence is this thing called resilience, which is sort of people talk about it. They make it very complicated. Resilience, simply put, in straightforward terms, is just the range and the number of loving people in your life who tell you that you're okay. So coming back to the kid in the strange situation going to mum's lap, how many mum's lap have you got in your life that you can go to when something upsets you? If you get that comfort and that support, you'll bounce back naturally, because that's literally how we're designed to operate.
Noel, thank you very much. Is there anything you've got that you're nervous about? Is there anything, you're going to feel the fear and do anything new in your life in the next weeks and months?
I'm just in the process of moving into a new home.
Well, that's...
I'm literally right now standing in it thinking, I almost forgot the interview and I went, run back! Go and do the interview, quick!
This is
all
worse.
Very new for me.
There is nothing worse than the chaos of moving house. Thank you very much indeed to Noel McDermott for joining us on BBC Radio Ulster.